another proving ground when it comes to the attacks or investigation file. Are they going to be able to speed up? Because Chalet, again, a little more complex, plays into the utility like Oregon does. You've got to be quick on your feet and quick with the entry.
Well, getting into these bans, we've got a more interesting one to start us off. The Nomad taken off the board, and that means that you have to make a decision. And it looks like that decision, like I was about to say, is going to favor the Thatcher, right? Instead of the Flores taking the Thatcher off the board, that frees up a lot of attacking potential. On the defensive side now, you don't get rid of a Wamai, you don't get rid of a Jaeger or an Aruni, and these deployable shields, they might as well not even be placed down on the ground to start, because these Flores drones are just going to waltz on through. Now, the mute ban is very unique and not something we've seen very much at all, but the Valkyrie ban is rather common. But the mute ban on a map like Chalet is a bit more surprising, Harrison.
Yeah, the mute, who recently underwent a bit of a nerf. He can't stop walls as effectively as he could before, but still very good for denying drones, you know? Still very useful for that. And I guess, hey, banning the mute, banning the Valkyrie, you leave operators like the Wamai, like the Goyo up, you leave the Mira up if she's going to get played at all, you leave Echo as well. Right on cue, Arrow will switch to him. So, you know, I kind of like the mute ban. Also brings Mozzie kind of to the forefront. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. The Nomad and the Thatcher also being banned means that Flores is still up, though. He will not be picked by Outlast, as they figure. I guess they just don't really need it, considering there's Justin Aruni on the board.
Right, I mean, you allow Flores through, and we would expect to see him rather regularly. But like you said, with the defensive lineup that they were presented with, maybe Outlast felt that they could favor other operators, such as the Zero. That's what Nomad is going to be bringing out. Of course, Nomad generally likes to roll with, yes, the Nomad pick, but of course, because she is banned off the board, favoring a different type of flank watch instead, a more manual type of flank watch, adding those zero cams to provide more direct intel as to where a potential roam is or where a potential flank is coming from. But of course, it does require you to actually be watching those cameras. You can't just hear a zero cam go off when somebody is nearby. No, that's what an air jab is for. Somebody needs to be watching those cameras, watching those flank cams at all times. Otherwise, you might as well not even run zero in the first place. It seems, though, that Outlast will be primarily concerned with, understandably so, their initial entry. They're going to work their way into Library to start, and Genesis, working that Gemini clone on through Library, will figure out at least there's one player over on the top of Library Stair. There are, in fact, multiple players, but they will quickly tuck tail and run back over towards Piano, and actually not contend with much of a roam at all. They're going to go straight back to the site and hold it down.
And they quickly figure, hey, we got droned out. We're not in the best position in the world, so we don't want to fight this. I mean, they, spend about a minute over there, so... I mean, hey, if you waste a minute over towards that side of the building, you can waste even more into Piano, and your anchors are looking pretty good for the rest of the round, so I definitely do not disagree with it. The bunker wall will now be opened by Jewel, but Giddy runs out, and the castle collects the first kill of the match. Down goes Panic. That's your Zoph dead. That's a lot of burn and a lot of destruction, unfortunately, off the board for the attack, as well as Panic, who has been, at least in the last stage, a fantastic player for this team. There's also a castle barricade protecting the players in Piano from that double repel, and now Atheno is going to have to deal with that or call someone over to, because otherwise he can't really affect the round too much.
Looks like Sub was thinking about tossing that C4, but it ended up not quite getting through the floor holes, so be unable to use that one any longer. But he will be able to continue to, of course, support his team on this bottom floor. Now with this top floor extension pretty much cleared out, Outlast can turn their focus into the site itself, right? They have forced those top floor defenders back further. They haven't actually forced them out of the top floor completely, but they're starting to get a bit more of a foothold onto bunker, onto office, onto some of these positions that they need, the bare minimum of control, they need to start pushing into dining. Unfortunately, with the smoke blocking their way, they're going to be forced to,
Wow.
well, wait a little bit longer, and Inrio will use that time to slam Nomad into the dirt. 3 players are now that remains from Outlast, and slowly they are crumbling, because now with top floor control gone, Inrio can retake that position, but a perfect nade from Atheno could remedy that in due time. Giddy strikes back onto Jewel, but Genesis responds in kind as well and shuts down Giddy in response. Plant not going down, diffuser not in hand. It's all up to Atheno, but there is simply no time left. IF take the first round.
A good top floor extension. I cannot believe Inrio was able to get that kill on the Nomad. And Giddy, who was left upstairs unchecked, was able to kill the planter, not even needing the Echo drones controlled by his teammate. So all in all, Outlast, while able to flush most of the top floor, were unable to hold on to it. And that's really the important part. So, round 1, defense goes the way of IF. We know they are a very good defensive team, so this is not surprising. I actually wouldn't be surprised if we see a rather defensive-sided Chalet in this game.
Yeah, with a team like Investigation File, I mean, of course, under all the iterations they've been known previously, late registration, Slaughterhouse, what have you, they've always been a defensive team. It's been their strong suit, and sometimes it's been incredible to watch some of their defensive performances, especially compared to some of the other teams in CL. But like our analyst has highlighted, both Cookies and CDAPS had a good bit to say about their attacking problems, and thankfully they'll be on the defensive side for them, and they won't have to deal with those attacking issues, at least for the first 6 rounds. So they'll be looking to get as many under their belt as possible before the attacking side of the coin rears its ugly head. But for now, they'll be defending bar in games, and they'll be bringing out the Mira, something that we often see on Chalet, but actually haven't seen a ton of so far today. That is typically something you'll see set up on this library extension, generally to assist that player sitting in Fireplace Hall over in that black top position where we can see Inrio, although we don't actually see that Mira window quite yet. I suspect, yep, there's one of them down in stock, so that is at least one position, and Arrow's actually going to hold the other one in his pocket for now.
First kill will go the way of the attack this time. It's Panic onto Giddy, actually. A complete reversal of what we saw. So Panic is going to be able to get a little bit of revenge. And now, well, you've lost your Goyo. He's got his shields down already, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. But you do lose a C4, which could come in handy later in the round, though it is bar, and we don't really see a whole ton of C4 play on this side. But still, it's an opening pick for Outlast. Their attack definitely a little bit swifter this time. Hopefully they don't lose anyone like their Zofia early, because what I'm going to be paying attention to is how effectively Outlast can clear that utility top blue and then transition and deal with the Mira windows.
Well, Arrow's still comfortably behind this second Mira window that he's finally actually placed down. And he'll have a good line of sight towards both of the directions that the attackers are now approaching from. One, of course, on that balcony window, and the rest approaching from this piano side. With that intel he has, he can communicate to Inrio where to swing, when to swing, or if he should simply tuck tail and run back downstairs to the site itself. For now, though, they will both remain stalwart on this vertical control. They will not give it up quite yet, despite the mounting Outlast pressure that they are now looking to roll on over towards this southwest side of the top floor. With these 0 cams from Nomad, they're trying to figure out exactly where these defenders are positioned, and at least they know where the blacktop player is, but I'm not entirely sure if they know where Arrow is playing, or if there is an easy way for him to swing and shut them down. 50 seconds are all that remains. Outlast continue to stall out. This will be key if these grenades can hit. The utility dump comes out, the flash is to burn this utility, but no, the first grenade's not going to hit. The X-Kairos pellet's destroyed again, and 35 seconds are all Outlast have, and they have no control of this map, no control of library to speak of.
They're going to try and Hibana out the mirror window yet again, but even then I imagine Arrow could probably just stay there and bleed even more time. Genesis is going to be going for a lick up main, attempting to find Inreal, but there's Arrow with the first kill, immediately traded back as Panic and Genesis each find one, and the man count heavily swings over towards Outlast. What's just happened? It's Vivid alone, but he can't make anything happen as Nomad comes in from the bar hallway and collects two. Outlast, despite the round, definitely not really starting off too successfully, are still able to clutch up towards the end.
That was it really was bad that clear. I mean, it never really happened. They struggled until the last 20 seconds to get those kills, but really good coordination. I'll give that to them. From 20 seconds onward, they collapsed not only on that top floor, but on the site itself and won every single gunfight they were presented with. So props to them for making it happen despite all odds. It really looked like it was going the way of IF and this defense, but Outlast somehow pulling it out and, gotta admit, defying my expectations just a little bit. So tying it up here at 1, and that's going to force Investigation File to change up the site. They're not going to head back to Barn Games. They're actually going to rotate over to Master and Office as well. And Subarctic will be pulling out the Vigil, something we are seeing for the first time here from IF, and something that suggests a rather aggressive style of roam coming out from him.
That was quite the surprise towards the end of the round there.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
But I'm glad to see Outlast find their footing, which they were able to do on their attacks last week on Cafe. So that's another thing I'm looking for. Outlast, it's kind of like a reverse, right? IF's defenses, way better than their attacks. Outlast's attacks were way better than their defenses. So we got a kind of a little dichotomy here. So I think, both teams right now are on their theoretically stronger sides. I wouldn't be surprised if whoever wins this half ends up winning the game.
Suppose only time will tell, especially because Outlast still have a mountain of work ahead of them, right? They still have to find... Go ahead.
I was going to say, unless it ends 3-3, and then I don't know what that is.
and then we've got nothing to work with. But Outlast hoping to find Subarctic and figure out where this Vigil is tucked and hidden. But he isn't very hidden at all. He's actually downstairs playing rather aggressively here, looking towards West Main, but missing so many key shots. Genesis will end up dying, thankfully to Arrow, who, despite being on low HP, will get 2. The second kill with the pistol and not taking a lick of damage in the process. Already cut down to 1 HP by a nade that came in earlier. But somehow winning 2 gunfights and, well, emerging technically unscathed. 5v3 now for IF as this turns very much in their favor. Something we haven't talked about yet is Nomad switching off that 0, bringing out the Flores, which is refreshing to see, but unfortunately that utility is not going to do you much good if, well, your teammates are dead all around you.
They also haven't even really entried into the top floor. I mean, a reminder, this is a master defense, and you lost 2 players to Arrow. I don't know how the hell that happened, and they were so hell-bent on pushing the downstairs that they're just now turning their sights to the site with about a minute left, now 50 seconds. The timing has been pretty poor from Outlast so far. Atheno is going to look to remedy it a little bit with a kill on the Vivid. That's the smoke dead. If there's anyone you're going to kill to try and alleviate your time issues, it's going to be him. But you saw earlier, there's someone still over towards the library side of things. I believe it is Sub. He is just sitting here behind the walls. And I don't know if Jewel is quite aware of this. It doesn't look like it with the way he's playing. Here's Sub. He's going to start making his move. The wall is going to start to be breached, and he's going to get an easy kill onto Jewel. That leaves it all up to Nomad in a 1 versus 4 with only 15 seconds left. He's going to miss a key few shots onto Inreal, only succeeding in damaging the body of the Aruni. And he's still got to hunt down Sub, and Sub is just going to do the dance of death, which he'll lose, but it's pretty much inconsequential. Giddy's hungry for the kill, and he'll nab it. An Investigation File will take their lead back.
Great work there from Sub overall. Even though he missed a couple of very gettable shots onto Panic very early on in that round, redeeming himself just by the presence he had on the map. He didn't necessarily have to frag out as much as he did there, and he would have still had a similar impact, right? He's a constant thorn in the side of that attack. When they were maybe a bit complacent about watching their flank, Sub will pop right up and threaten you from behind. He'll force you to turn your attention elsewhere. When you think you can make a cheeky little entry into West Main, who is to but there to stop you? Other than Subarctic, who was sitting there, he impacted open that wall, and he
Attackers need to
landed a couple
locate
of
and
bullets
defuse
onto
bombs.
Panic. Even though didn't get that killing blow, it was enough to throw them, to slow them down, to throw them into a loop, and to really make them take their time a little bit more. So as far as a roam goes, Sub did his job very, very well. Even though he's only hit 2 kills so far, that is all you can ask for from that aggressive and that very loose
Bombs
style of
located by
play.
attackers.
I wonder too, were the kills Arrow got through the floor?
Wall fortified.
I guess that actually
Because
would
right,
make
because he
sense.
killed Panic, and Panic was over towards West Main.
Right.
We all know about the West
the
Main floor
nade came
holes.
from below. That's where he was being threatened from. He could have
Yeah.
theoretically been using the nade.
That
hole
would make a lot of sense as to why he wasn't damaged in the engagements.
Right.
I'm wondering if that's probably where he got those from. Yeah, that was a really good defense from IF. Now they'll go back down to Dining, where they were initially successful because Outlast never really completely took the top floor. That's kind of been Outlast's issue, has been taking the other floor, right? Like, in the first round on Dining, they couldn't take top floor, and they ended up getting flanked. Round 3, like we just saw, they started with a downstairs clear and got completely shut down and had to turn their sights to the above players, which with much less manpower at their disposal. So hopefully Outlast can alleviate some of those issues with their initial clear with Panic. I know last time Giddy jumped out on him. Panic is looking to not let that happen again as IF start to reallocate and reposition those shields, facing over towards the library side of things now, as Outlast, curiously enough as well, have not gone for a solar take yet.
Yeah, they really want to just work their way over this entire top floor. They're trying to take as much map control as possible, and often that is a preferable strategy, but you always have to worry about the time it takes, right? When they wanted to approach bar and games, they worked their way from that master side, worked their way all the way across towards library, and even though they were able to take the round, the time did get the better of them. So something they need to be wary of, but not necessarily remedy, as they've adjusted pretty effectively so far in those time crunch situations. And thus far, at least in this round, they're doing an okay job of dealing with that utility. Unfortunately, they're going to start losing bodies as Giddy will claim the opening pick onto Genesis as that top floor clear continues to unfold. You can hear the Rotero drones from that Flores blowing up those shields, denying this utility and forcing IF further back, but that map control will not come for free. You still need to put a body in that room, still take that map control, and Giddy is still going to contest you when you do that.
Speaking of contesting, he will eventually stop and slink back down to site, but there's a C4 from Sub that finds Panic. Again, the entry players from Outlast not being able to do the most, but here's Nomad coming in, not only downing Vivid, but getting Giddy on the reswing as well. Beautiful shot from Jewel all the way from West Main into Trophy. Gets the headshot on the Sub, and just like that, the round is turned on its head. It's now Outlast in the man advantage, but very little time remaining. They are now going for the vert play with only 18 seconds left. And Arrow is going to tuck himself downstairs. He knows to play for time, and he's got those yokais still up. And it looks like Outlast have not found them just yet. 10 seconds now, and here's going to be the plant attempt from Jewel. He's looking for the yokais, not going to find it, and thus he'll go for it. Here comes the yokai, though. Arrow could win the round right here, but no, Nomad shoots it out, and the plant is going to be forfeit. Atheno takes out Inrio, and the round goes haywire for the defense. Arrow can't come back up the stairs, and Outlast ties us up once again.
I'm a big fan of committing to the plant denial with a yokai drone. I think that's a reliable strategy. You want it to play safe, and in fact, so safe that they had both players go downstairs with one player to cover the player who was on the Echo. But the one problem with that is that the yokai drone was in West Main, and it was not inside of Kitchen, where they watched the Habana, likely with the diffuser, run into. They watched Jewel run into kitchen. They knew that's where the plant was going down, yet they didn't really budge, and they still committed to that strategy. In hindsight, of course, this makes a lot of sense for me to say. I mean, when you drop that yokai drone down and it gets shot out, you think, well, that clearly wasn't a great strategy. But I understand where that thought
Attackers need to
process
locate
came
and
from.
defuse bombs.
Have to consider, though, if once they identified where that plant was going down and they figured, okay, they'll probably have someone covering it, the yokai drones, I mean, they're not a very stealthy force of nature anymore. They don't just hop on a ceiling and turn invisible. They make a lot of noise. They're on the floor, and then they jump onto the ceiling, and you can see them clearly. It would have been quite a gamble to go for that unless there was a drone in a better position already. He knew there was one in kitchen, and he could use it there, but unfortunately, unable to do so, and IF just committing to a strategy that, at the end of the day, didn't quite pan out.
Yeah, Outlast are definitely on top of it there. I think if the yokai were already pre-placed somewhere in that room, you know, maybe it would have gotten it, but they're playing off the yokai info off-site, so a little bit unfortunate positioning there for the drones, but I mean, hey, it's 2-2. Investigation file are still in a pretty decent position considering this is Chalet defense and they're tied up. So far as well, Outlast 2 attacking wins have not really been all too convincing. They were very down to the wire. And sure, you know, again, round 2, they still had 3 bodies up, but it was a very last-second blitz into sight that won them the round. And again, you know, on that dining round, we just saw, sure, they had 3 bodies up, but I mean, it came down to the wire. It came down to the time. I mean, we were at 0 seconds, and that plant was going down. So if Outlast can start to speed things up, I think they can definitely improve their success. But if IF keep reading into this and just keep hammering the delay work over and over again, Outlast can start to stumble in the latter rounds of this half.
I mean, Outlast have proven their mettle in those closing situations, right? So I wouldn't say an IF round is guaranteed if the time waste goes successfully. I mean, if there's any round that indicates the truth of that statement, it was round 2 with the Bar and Games attack that somehow worked out for Outlast. But we'll have to see how this one goes as well, because already you can tell things are off to another very slow and methodical start for Outlast. Now, methodical, good, yes, they're making sure they're doing their due diligence and checking all of their bases here, but there's a lot of players to clear out, and the time is getting away from them yet again. You still have 2 players, a third actually on this top floor presence, one on the top of those blue stairs, Inrio and Arrow once again holding down that library and blacktop position. And aside from that, Outlast still have a lot of work to do, right? There's still 2 players on the site. There's still utility to clear out downstairs. And 50 seconds are all that remains. Thankfully, this time, they've got the mirror window open. Arrow will sneak away after getting that kill onto Atheno. Inrio drops down as well. So a job well done from IF, and then some, because they got a kill to boot. Sub will now drop away and keep this one in a clean 5 versus 4 for the last 30 seconds.
Once again, look at the time from Outlast. They have very little of it. They've got to try and blitz into the site and hope their trade game works out again. That was a nice little snap from Arrow, too, to give his team the man advantage. They'll spot Giddy all the way downstairs in the basement, and he'll prep a nitro cell under, I believe that's Fireplace. We'll blow it up towards the door, but it will not find anyone. But there's only 5 seconds left, and we're going to need this drop to come in right now from Jewel, but there's someone covering it. He's an easy kill for Inrio. The trade starts to go the way of the attack, but Sub is there to find one. Vivid shuts down Nomad, trying to entry back into the site. And IF take another round that goes way down to the wire.
See, that outcome really, that's what looked like what round 2 should have ended up being, right? I mean, with that sort of conclusion of Outlast having no time and just pushing it at the last second without any intel and completely flustered, that's what I was expecting to see in round number 2, but didn't, because Outlast, by some miracle, pulled it out. But they'll be unable to repeat the same miracle twice in a row. So round number 5, same site, they're going to be unable to pull it off, meaning that IF will go up 3-2, and this back and forth pattern continues. And if Outlast have anything to say about it, it will continue for the last round of this half, and they'll keep things all tied. But like you said, Harrison, we may very well determine the victor of this map just based on this half, this technically the stronger half, at least we believe, of both of these teams. So if IF can pull this one out, I'd say they're in a very strong position going forward, not only because we are seeing this map generally lean attacker-sided, but also given the two teams we have in front of us today.
Or
this
match has been back and forth and back and forth. We could continue the trend and end up at 3-3.
I love that.
And then I don't know what the hell's going to happen. Because, I mean, in my mind, you know, with the way this match is shaping up so far, it might not be whose stronger side is stronger. It might come down to whose weaker side is weaker. And, well, that could be really funny. But it's going to be, like you said, Master, IF have defended this site once, and they won it once. So it's still, you know, it's very possible that we'll end up in a 4-2 for IF. But Outlast can fix their issues, like they did with Dining. This will be a 3-3 as they start over from the library side of things once again. It seems like Outlast are just allergic to solar clears, opting to start towards the southwest side of the building every single round. And who do they have to tussle with but Arrow, who has been very good so far. Actually, you know, everyone on the roster has been doing their part. Mainly Arrow, Sub, and Giddy. And Arrow knows how to play these locations. He was on a heater on Oregon against Livid. What did he drop? Like 21?
21, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So
2 away from the record.
Arrow's stepped up tremendously so far. And hopefully Outlast know how to deal with him.
I mean, I guess they've dealt with it so far. I mean, Arrow is not on pace for another 21 bomb here. He's been relatively quiet, but everyone on both of these teams has been kept mostly in check. There hasn't been one player other than maybe Nomad who you could say has stepped up in a huge way, but looks like this continuation of shutting down Arrow will once again be a factor in round number 6, the opening kill, going the way of Outlast, as looks like Jewel will claim the opening kill onto Arrow there. So a really good start for them, as one of these big gunners is taken off the board, another gunner who knows how to play this site quite well. And that's going to put IF on the back foot in the early days of this round. Sub holding this position in piano, prepared to fight off anyone who comes his way. But he won't be able to use that shield anymore because a well-placed Flores drone will deal with it perfectly. Now, with this bunker wall being opened, IF, they're starting to lose this control that they were so desperately trying to hold on to, and Outlast are now taking quite effectively as Panic gets another kill now. Sub trying to hold off this plant, hold off this push, will be unsuccessful in doing so for the time being.
Someone now pressuring his window as well. He's caught between a rock and a hard place as that attacker has now moved over towards the bathroom side of things. Inrio is looking for a run out on someone repelled big window. He's going to go for it with the Aruni punch, and that is an easy kill. No, what? Nomad!
Oh, man.
You are just not supposed to win those. And now as Vivid goes down, it's just Sub. Panic jumps through and gets the last 2. And Outlast take round number 6. I mean, the play from Panic aside, that was a really nice shot into the Vigil afterwards, just jumping through bathroom. How the hell did Nomad win that?
That was quite a shot. That was quite a flick, because the advantage was what? Who was that? Inrio? Who had
that
the
was Inrio.
Momentary, like, I get like 2 seconds, it felt like. Obviously, it wasn't that long, but a good second advantage in that engagement. Had 5-6 bullets out of that mag, and then Nomad just flicks and domes him. Just brutal stuff. But that kill aside, I think Outlast played that beautifully. Had Nomad not gotten that kill, I honestly think the outcome would have been the same. Outlast...
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, they were very coordinated when it came to that push in the site. They just, 3-2-1 execute. They were all in there and fragging out, and had Inrio won that specific engagement, maybe it would have given a little bit more freedom to the players in Master trying to rotate around. And maybe Inrio could have rotated back to the site and tried to pull something off in a 1vx. But that great shot from Nomad notwithstanding, a great execute. A great execute from Outlast overall. And yes, we are tied up at 3. So our desperation to figure out a victor early looks like it will not come true. We'll have to wait a little bit longer to see who can pull this one out, because going into the IF attack now, we are essentially at square one.
Now, again, I'm going to bring up the big criticisms. Outlast's defenses on Cafe
Attacker's objective is
were
to
not
defuse a
great.
bomb.
A lot of times they were getting picked apart solo, very easily cleared. Crossfires were not adequate. Main issue with IF's attacks, they were very, very slow. They were thorough, they were very slow. Now, I like this change from IF. In order to speed them up, they're going to be bringing the Aqualix Special. They've got the Finca of Sub. Now, whether this is going to be enough to alleviate their time issues, I guess we'll say, remains to be seen, but I definitely think it's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, bringing an operator who can almost guarantee a faster pace of the round is always a good option, especially if you struggle with timing, if you struggle with maybe the confidence of pushing into the site when you feel like you might be ill prepared. The Finca can quite literally give you that boost and push you over the edge. Now, with the vertical play, the goal here for IF, they are starting to take this control and starting to work their way across, but just like Outlast on their attacking side, they are trying to do so carefully. They want to leave no stone unturned, putting zero cams on their flank and working their way through the map. Now, Inrio will be the first player to actually go for a challenge, assisted by the player on that master window. That will be Arrow, and the combination of that crossfire proving lethal as Genesis is taken down and finished off. Sub will whip out the Gong 6 and deal with Panic, and that will put IF in a great position of 5v3 now.
Especially they now start to move into the rest of the top floor, ripping away this control from the defense, and now they can go ahead with Giddy and start playing the all-important Vert. They've got plenty of time to do so as well. They've started with over a minute, so they have the luxury of time, at least for now, and Giddy's making some good holes. You can see the Tachanka of Athena. I think that is narrowly avoiding the play. But as Sub finds a nade kill onto Jewel, I actually completely forgot that Finca has nades again. It's going to be a 5 versus 2. Athena and Nomad against the world, plus a Finca. Things aren't looking so smooth, especially when your last two weapons are very slow firing. Inrio's going to get an easy pick onto Athena. That leaves Nomad alone in the 1v5, looking to retake the top floor. Sees one on the bed. Down goes Arrow. That's an easy kill for the castle, but Nomad's not going to continue to press his luck out upstairs. He's going to try and fall back to the site as the plant starts to go down from Vivid. As he falls through, he takes a couple shots from short, but they know exactly where he is. And now that the plant has been completed, this round is pretty much over. Nomad, in a hopeless position, gets put out of his misery by Vivid, and the back and forth story continues.
Yeah, IF respond, and they will take their first attacking round in what looked very clean. Nearly a flawless round had it not been for that one player upstairs caught off guard while sitting on a drone. That would have been a flawless round, but it was still a dominant victory nonetheless, with a top floor clear that was a huge step up from what we saw on the Outlast side, I've got to say. Outlast, on their attacking side, just took way too long, were way too patient on that clear, and struggled to get through that utility and through that map control. But IF seemed to have no issue doing so, at least in Master and Office. What we see in Library remains to be seen, but as far as their understanding of how to push into Piano and how to support that position from the Master window, they've got that one down pat.
That was extremely well done, and I think Outlast are taking a risk. Oh, I thought they were going to the same site. No, man, they're not taking a risk. I like that Outlast are switching up the site. I misread the silhouettes. Again, I love the Finca for Sub. It definitely helped them pick up the pace. Most of the initial kills in that round were also aided by that Finca boost, as we saw.
10 seconds left.
I think, like you said, it's some of the unspoken stuff with Finca that helps, like the added just the confidence that you gain. Because a lot of people will say, a lot of fraggers in this game will tell you, a lot of what winning fights comes down to is confidence and taking the fight and thinking that you're gonna win it. Because if you're being too, if you're not confident, you hesitate, and that can be what gets you killed when you're trying to play with an aggressive team. So 7 rounds have been played, and neither team have been able to string together 2 in a row. Now, IF are on the attack, the favorite side of Chalet. Will they be able to do it this round? Because I feel like whichever team is able to... Holy crap. Anyway, I think whichever team is able to get 2 rounds in a row is probably going to end up being the victor. And Genesis will be rewarded for his beautiful shot by a nade from below and the finisher from Henry.
At least the equalizer can be found from IF here. And like you said, Harrison, they will certainly be striving for that second round in a row. What is a feat that is yet to be achieved by either team in this lobby so far. We have continued this pattern since that first round. After IF takes their first attacking round, it only seems fit that Outlast strike back and take one themselves. But we're still a long way from seeing how this round comes to a close, because IF are still working their way through this map. It looks like they have some plan on taking some control from below in order to actually pressure Master and Office, using some vertical play from downstairs. And a priority of that is going to be dealing with Panic, removing the danger of the flank. The Panic eludes them so far, creeping around in Wine Cellar, and it appears that Giddy is no longer concerned with that. He'll rotate all the way back upstairs to support his teammates, but he won't be able to support Inrio from Jewel, who will step in, swing with that SMG-11, and once again frag out for Outlast, giving them the edge yet again. Now it's Panic's turn to step up. Nomad looking to get aggressive as well, and IF also stalling out a little bit.
He will be the next to be heavily damaged. The flank up from Fireplace. Panic is going to whiff quite a few shots on the Vivid. Could have killed the Hibana there, but fortunately for him, Vivid will survive. Now, I mean, he's going to be a thorn in the side of this attack that they have to worry about as he's going for the flank from blue. And there's only 30 seconds left, meaning that IF might not have a dedicated body for that flank watch. As the Aruni starts to push up, he'll finally catch that player, find the one on the window, but Giddy still wins the fight. 2 versus 2, even man count, but the Finka pushes way too far up with no assistance. He gets caught out. It's just Giddy. He lands a nice shot onto one, but Nomad quickly trades. And Outlast find all the refrags they need. They win round number 8, and we are tied up once again.
Well, the pattern continues, and, well, you love to see these competitive games, these back and forth games, but can't help but also wish a little bit that one of these teams would figure out a way to take 2 in a row and figure out the solution to some of their problems. The previous round, though, for IF, it really did look like they were on the back foot the entire time, but a problem that kind of compounded their issues. Gotta say, Sub stepping up in the end there and taking that 1v2 engagement as the Finka. We talked about the confidence and how important that is, but overconfidence can get you into a bit of trouble, as Sub found out the hard way. Of course, Giddy was nearby-ish to support, but had Sub waited maybe 5 more seconds and pushed in with his teammate, there is a very good chance that could have gone the other way. It was a 2v2 after all. Yes, the time was low. Yes, it was IF's responsibility to push in and get some stuff done or get that bomb down, but gotta consider how that would have gone had there not been those individual 1v1 engagements and IF pushed as a team instead. One other point is Panic on the roam. It looked like IF were committing to forcing Panic out and taking him down, right? You saw Giddy and Inrio both downstairs searching for that kill, but at some point they decided, you know what, let's back off, let's focus on the site. Generally, if you had a Nomad in play, if you had your flanks completely on lock, I would support that decision, but they simply did not. Panic was able to be a huge problem later in the round because IF simply did not know where that flank was coming from, despite having some idea of the roam to begin with.
Yeah, because not only did that drop case, but because of that dropped case, Giddy had to go pick it up, and Sub was left on his own on an island. We'll see if the back and forth continues into this round. We have not bucked the trend just yet. It's going to be Bar. First bar defense for Outlast. Not only do they have a shield... Oh, no, wait. They only have that shield bottom blue. They don't have one at the top. Has it? I don't even see debris. Did they have one there to begin with?
No.
I guess not. All right. Weird. I don't know where the hell the other shields are, but I know where Nomad is. He's dead. It was a very early grenade kill. I believe, was that from Giddy?
I think so.
I think it was Giddy.
Yeah. Well, this clear continues after that opening pick, and Giddy looking to add a bit more to his resume here now that he's got that 10th frag on the board. Looking to add a little bit, but Genesis is looking to shut that down. The Jaeger just sitting in the middle of the hallway. No intel on the side of IF for them to know that, and that's going to cost Giddy his life. Another position that was held very, very isolated by the lone attacker. Giddy did not have immediate support. Sub has finally taken up that position, as has Inrio, but they were not together and they were unable to seek the refrag as a result. This one will stay even in a 4 versus 4. Yes, the opening pick went to IF, and yes, that has been a consistent factor for these winning teams. But they still have a lot of work to do. Vivid is going to have eyes on Jewel and won't miss all the shots, just the first couple, and the Bearing 9 in hand will just be able to finish him off. So IF regain the advantage yet again. Inrio taking a lot of damage. The fire, I believe that's from Atheno, dealing most of that. Panic now working his way back down the stairs to strike back onto Arrow and to equalize yet again.
3 versus 3. In comes the entry from Inrio into the site. Tussling now with the Chonka. He'll lose out. And the man count goes the way of Outlast as Atheno lands another incredible shot. Panic finishes it off. Outlast take round number 9. And for the first time in 9 rounds, a team will take 2 points in a row. And I don't know. Is that going to be enough for Outlast to win it? Is that the final nail in the coffin?
I'm already worried about the prediction, Elo Harrison. We all
Yeah,
went IF here. All right, Outlast. Let's.
We really did.
If they want to close this one out, I mean, now's the time. The first team to take 2 in a row. That's big here to shake up the rhythm. IF, no doubt, feeling a little bit worried, and they're gonna take their time out accordingly, trying to investigate. No, I'm crazy with the puns. What their problems are here, right? They clearly have a lot to work on. I'd say the 2 main things right now that stick out are, 1, the intel game, the drone work, just on their entry. Something's missing. They're not quite getting it enough, and pushing together. That's been a problem now for 2 rounds in a row, both of which they lost. It was Sub in the previous round in a difficult situation. That much I get. But this round, it was a bit more of a problem because Giddy, who had made that initial entry, who came up successful with that first grenade, he died and there was no one to refrag him. There was nobody close behind because he was pushed alone. The confidence we talked about is getting the better of this attacking team on defense. It was helping them, but right now they are overextending themselves, and it's not helping them at all.
It seems like instead of being slow, they're a little bit too fast. They're getting kind of ahead of themselves. So it's almost like they've overcorrected their attacks, which is a little bit troubling, especially on a map like Chalet. Now Outlast find themselves in the lead, 5-4. They only need 1 more point to confirm OT at the very least. The pressure is now on for IF. They need to take this round because otherwise the back and forth game, I mean, they started with it. It is no longer in their favor.
Bomb located by attackers.
I mean, yeah, now it's completely flipped around, right? It was IF who would have the lead, and then they would relinquish it. They would have the lead, they would tie it up again. It would have the lead, and now it's Outlast who have taken control of that narrative. So if, let's say, we loop back into the pattern, Outlast will be on match point long before IF even get that look. So they'll be looking to shortcut that, though. They've also had a couple of minutes to talk about what went right, while Investigation File were busy talking about what went wrong. And if Outlast can learn from that previous round on a positive note and can continue that defensive success, the success they've had on the roam has been big. They've been taking advantage of some of the information issues that IF have been having. So if they continue that, I suspect they could run away with this one right here and finish us out right away. But IF, of course, if they have anything to do about that, or anything to say about that, rather, they will be coming through with a lot more control and a lot more patience, because that is what they need to remedy.
We'll finally see the Mira from Outlast as well. We saw it ran a couple times by IF, and the first time we'll see it is in the dining room. There's one by the plant half wall, I know, that's peeking on through. I didn't quite see where the second one is. It might be upstairs, actually, now that I think about it, but not quite sure. Funk wall is being left soft so that Genesis can play with it aggressively. Arrow and Giddy are already clearing downstairs. So they're making sure there's nobody roaming by the bar side of things. They now turn their attention towards the top. Giddy sending some pot shots over Genesis's way. How would you? I guess so. But he'll quickly rotate away. Yeah, okay. The second mirror window is upstairs. It's a soft Miro watching into piano. Now, luckily for IF, they do have the Hibana, but unfortunately for IF, the mirror windows are in pretty accessible positions for the defenders to just shoot those X-Kairos off.
Right, they're not too isolated. They're not behind a hard wall, and swinging them would mean their death. They can play pretty loose around them, which means IF have to do the same. They can't be too scared by these positions, because if the defenders can swing on them rather easily, so can the attackers. But it is in fact Genesis as that defender who swings the first time and the second as Arrow is shut down right after. Giddy will strike back, getting a pistol kill onto Panic. Sub as well will finally remove Genesis from play. And now IF are desperate to secure the vertical control, and indeed they have. The last player standing in their way of firm control of this top floor is Nomad, the Mira, until whom a moment ago was playing over in Solarium, but has rotated down the stairs and is holding down the site. But they're very wary of the pressure from above. You now have Giddy sledging open the floor. You've got Sub and Vivid just constantly shooting away, and Jewel will get overeager this time. That overconfidence taking these aggressive fights. Now it's Outlast who feel the brunt of it.
I love seeing Sub finishing his kills with the Gone 6. Not something you see all too often. Nomad and Athena, the two hard anchors, are left to clutch up. Luckily for them, there's no more Finka boost they have to deal with, and as Nomad wins the first fight, there's the equalizer. He's still got a C4 in pocket as well. Now he's got to tussle with the sledge of Giddy, but he sprints right into Split, right into the waiting arms of the L85. Athena is now left all alone in the 1v2. This could be for the game. He'll be out of view of the mirror window, but as the first player starts to cross in, he reveals his position. He tags up Giddy, but can't land the kill, and the sledge still has control of this mirror window. He peeks out into West Main, dealing more damage to the Chanka, and finally finishes him off. IF with round number 10. They start to take back and forth. They're going to need 2 in a row of their own if they want to stop Outlast from winning.
Well, IF will make it happen, and will bring things back. Will tie us up at 5. So they'll keep this pattern going, or at least attempt to, and try to build this one back. And that round looked pretty clean overall. They had their initial top floor clear. They did it well. They didn't lose a single body on that part of the clear. It was really when they transitioned downstairs where they had a couple of issues. But they did find those kills when they needed to, and they did clear out that utility. And though they did lose a couple of gunfights in the process, it did eventually go their way. So more power to them, as they were the ones this time to exploit the weaknesses of Outlast, who have also been swinging a little too much, in my opinion. They shouldn't be taking as many of those vertical fights, especially someone like a Maestro, who you really want. You really want his Maestro cams to deny that plant, especially on a site like Kitchen and Dining, where there are so many positions that you can't see from the other site, even with those soft walls between them, even with those doorways between the sites. So many inaccessible positions for those defenders to swing, and that's why you rely on the Maestro, and that's why Maestros don't generally take aggressive gunfights like that.
10 seconds remaining.
If he hadn't got caught out there, I could have gone differently, but that was really good use of the vert from IF. Now we're tied up once again, but I'm going to keep reiterating this. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but if back and forth continues, it's Outlast up next with the round win. Will they be able to keep tradition alive? They're not going to Dining again. They have lost both attempts, and I doubt we'll see it played at all by them, even if we go into overtime. They'll probably just stick to Master and Bar. Because Dining, while close, it hasn't worked out for them at all yet. You're going for a solar hold here. This is different. Jewel on the stairs. Atheno helping him from Owl. You've also got both Genesis and Nomad below. So there's a lot put into this. But, okay, all right, as I say that, never mind. Jewel quite literally just gives himself up to the trophy watch, and opening pick goes the way of Sub.
Yeah, Jewel really did not want to be upstairs anymore, and despite the lack of pressure actually upstairs initially, he'll run downstairs and find his grave below to the watchful eye on the window. But now, with that control that they know is secured, IF, with no Jewel in the way, will swing into Solarium, and they'll push right on into the precipice of this site right now. In fact, Vivid is going to go for this plant now that they've lost sub. They're going to just try to rip the band-aid off and get this done as soon as possible. Genesis from below will not have any sort of utility to deny it vertically. We'll have to work with a team to take this manually. Panic gets one, Atheno gets the second, and Inrio and Vivid are going to have to lock this down themselves and try to hold off a 4-man retake. First kill works. Vivid finds one, now lines up the second. Perfect C4 from Atheno, though, will delete Inrio. It's going to be all up to Vivid, who falls and gets taken down by the pistol from Nomad, who gets a triple kill of his own and gets this diffuser to continue our back and forth and to give Outlast round number 6, and they'll be the first team to move ahead to match point.
That was so close from Vivid. What an incredible attempt from the Hibana and the IGL of IF. It just was not enough at that point because of the incredible retake, the rally from Outlast just after the plant went down, killing the big window player as well as the support in the building. It was a 4v2. What that means is that Outlast has enough bodies to just throw them at Vivid over and over again. And Atheno getting the kill onto the bathroom player was icing on the cake, especially with that C4. And I mean, at that point, Vivid was really stuck in a corner. He was relying on Inrio to help cover, and the cover was just not there. Outlast, now 6-5. Now, you know, this could very well go into OT. But Outlast are going to bring us to the basement. For the first time in this particular map, because we saw it last game, for the first time in this particular map, we'll be seeing the garage and wine cellar.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Outlast want to do to set this one up. Because in the last map, when we saw the Wolves go here, this is something we'd seen from them before. It wasn't too shocking. But this right here is a bit of surprise, because on a map that we don't expect Outlast to be the most gifted at, and on the side of the map that we've also know them to have a couple of more problems, the defensive side, that is. Going downstairs here could actually be quite important for them, because now you're going to put IF in a weird spot. They have to figure out what this setup is, probably something they've never come across before, specifically, at least from Outlast. And now they have to go through, you know, their typical roam clear, which is going to be even more challenging this time, because, like you said in our last matchup, Harrison, roam on this basement site is more vital than ever, and that's why we're going to see Genesis upstairs playing that roam, likely with a couple of other players. Panic all the way up top as well, joining him on that roam, trying to apply as much pressure to IF as possible as they get into the building. But IF, for now, a drone through big garage and some pressure from just about everywhere. They're looking to take a lot of control very quickly. They're not working their way in as a 5-man from the top. They're spreading out this control to try to cut off these roamers' rotation as they come back to the site.
Interesting that IF are mainly taking from big garage. Normally teams will immediately go for snowmobile just because it's such an easy wall to open, and it gives you, you know, so much leverage into the snowmobile site. It's definitely an interesting push. Though, I mean, you know, it's still viable. The downstairs site is very difficult to defend. I thought Jewel was about to land the headshot of his life right there. He's got a very slim angle over towards the washing machine. We'll just narrowly see a player cross, but as he starts to get stunned out, the attackers likely know there is no burn covering this smoke. They can probably just frag out his shield whenever they want. They'll nearly get caught by Inrio, but a minute and a half left, and honestly, IF, they haven't really made too much progress.
Well, they're trying to deal with Jewel here, but they've been trying for quite some time, and they've still yet to get this done. That nade you talked about finally comes on through, but Jewel hasn't taken any damage from that at all. He's still going to smoke this off, and he's still going to use this time delay to the best of his advantage, and so far it is working. That's the final toxic gas. Yes, you're not going to have that utility for later, but you may not need to have it for later if the attackers can't even get that far. IF is still struggling to deal with this, and they haven't bothered to go for that full roam clear, which means a flank could be deadly at any point. That's what Genesis is up to here. Arrow is sitting close behind, but busy on the flank watch. This could be a problem.
Oh, what?
It will be, as Genesis shuts him down. Looks like Arrow had some idea that was coming, but 1 second too late will cost him his life.
Especially, too, you saw there was an earlier shield repositioned to help cover the red wall. So this is going to be extremely difficult for the attackers to push in. If that's even the way they're going, it'll be Sub with 1 kill, Inrio with another, a 3 versus 4 now for the defense. A C4 comes out, but it will not land the kill. Giddy gets another, Sub finally goes down. Another C4 comes out, but that won't hit either. Inrio, he's just 1 HP. Here's the flank in, a double kill for Nomad to confirm his 3rd, and it's Vivid alone. 3 seconds left in the 1v2. He's got no time at all, and Outlast will end up winning the map. The easiest cleanup in the world, 7-5.